Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero. Our guest today, wrapping up Special Operators Week, is Remi Adeleke. His story is truly remarkable. He was born in Nigeria into a very wealthy family. He went to the best schools, lived a very comfortable life of privilege until his father passed away in 1987. The Nigerian government stripped his family of everything. His mother refused to raise her children in poverty in Africa, so she whisked them off. They ended up in the Bronx, where Remi had to adjust and fill the void that his father left. He found something he was looking for in the emerging culture of hip-hop, but he fell into all the traps that the lyrics talked about in their descriptions of the harsh realities. Schemes to get easy money, stealing, drugs, girls, and all of it caved in. When he had nothing left, he went to a recruiter's office and found Tiana Reyes. She found he had 2 warrants for his arrest, and took Remi to appear before 2 judges to argue for his desire to turn his life around and serve. Both judges gave him a firm talking to, but applauded his desire to be a patriot, and they gave him a chance. But deciding to serve was just the beginning. It took failing out a SEAL training program and 2 years of learning discipline, humility, and how to swim before he went back to the program and became just one of 29 who graduated out of his class of 270. That just began Remi's list of achievements. After serving as a SEAL for 14 years, he's become an actor, an underwear model, a loving husband and father of 3, and the author of the book Transformed, a Navy SEAL's unlikely journey from the throne of Africa to the streets of the Bronx to defying all odds, which is not only a reflection of his life, but an acknowledgement of all the women who played a part in his amazing journey. This is why we love Special Operators, and why we're celebrating Special Operators Week, and why Pete's diving in the water tomorrow for the Coronado Swim to support the SEAL Veterans Foundation. If you also want to support the SEAL Veterans Foundation, go to SEALVeteransFoundation.org, and if you're in the San Diego area tomorrow, go support Pete and check out Coronado Island. It'll be a terrific event. There will be a lot of inspiring folks there and former Navy SEALs. Of course, we also support Save the Brave, and you can read about them at SaveTheBrave.org. Our own Scott Huesing is one of several veterans on the board of Save the Brave, and we're behind their work 100%. I will be joining Pete and Scott next week to record some shows, but I'm sorry to say I will not be at the Coronado Swim on Saturday. I'm wrapping up an 8-week body composition challenge at Diablo Barbell and going in the dunk tank on Sunday. I will reveal the results of that challenge on Monday's episode, so stay tuned. And as always, if you want to share your fitness goals, your challenges, your progress, leave us a comment on YouTube or on the website or wherever you listen to us. And while you're at it, give the Break It Down show a 5-star rating. Write us a little review. We appreciate all of that. And now, wrapping up Special Operators Week, he went from Nigeria to the Bronx to a SEAL team to Hollywood. He's been on the Today Show, in Men's Journal, in People Magazine, and in his underwear. We're proud to bring you an American hero and one of our personal heroes. Here's Remi Adeleke.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hey, what's up? Remi Adeleke here on the Break It Down show. Author of Transformed, writer, actor, a little bit of everything, former Navy SEAL. Just getting after it with my brothers today.
And now, the Break It Down show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Yeah.
So we're going to use Jason Piccolo's episode of The Protectors and Mark Zeno's episode of Hazard Ground as like part 1. All of that SEAL stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
And you've talked about it. Maybe we'll get in a little bit of all the places you've had to pass through and transition out of. I want to talk to Remi the writer.
Yeah. That's what I love doing.
And Scott's here with me, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always good to be here. And we could go through this on every episode about the connections we have. And
yeah.
How we wind up in Chula Vista today, hanging out with Remi, who, we start out as pen pals. And we
don't say Chula Vista. I don't want people knowing where I live.
Oh, sorry. All right. I'll beep it out. San Diego. Sorry, San Diego. But, just so many cool people we know. And I attribute that to again, our tribe, the veteran space, and we were talking about this before the show, veteran artists that are willing to.
Hey, this is Pete. Real quick, I just want to let you guys know we are proud to announce our official support of Save the Brave, a certified nonprofit 501c3 with a charter of helping veterans with post-traumatic stress. Here's how you can help. Go to SaveTheBrave.com, click on the link on the website, and my recommendation is this. Subscribe. Give them $20 a month. You've got subscriptions that you can turn off right now that you're not using that are $20 a month. Swap that out. Get involved. Let's help these folks out.
We were talking about this before the show, veteran artists that are willing to show up. And you thank me for driving down here because I live in Temecula, not classified. And it's nothing to me, man, because it's always an opportunity, creating new opportunities and sharing the network. And if you call me in today, it's like, Scott, do you know Ollie North? I see his name. I'm like, yeah, what do you need? I'll do the introduction. I share that network. And I don't think you can mention that enough, honestly, with what we do. Guys like Jay Moore, he's not a veteran, but he says, I want to help veterans. I go, well, how about you give free tickets to all your shows this year on tour? He goes, easy, done.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, how have you, since you transitioned from the military as a Navy SEAL, one of the most elite branches, probably second only to the Marine Corps infantry.
Well, I was a corpsman in the Marine Corps.
I know. We'll get into that. Let's get into that. I want to hear about that too.
I got love for you guys.
I know. But how, that transition into the as a writer and in the entertainment field, and I don't think a lot of guys understand is like you're an entertainer now.
Yeah.
You own it. How do you do that?
How did I transition into it?
Yeah, what was I know there were a couple catalysts that I know about. But tell everybody, what was that fuse that when you transitioned, like you were talking about Jeff Gunn, like his badass Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah.
Making swimsuits at Sunga Life. Yeah. How do you make, like, no one ever think this badass door kicker is going to do this? How'd you do it?
I mean, for me, it's one of those things where I just, I had to be open to the possibilities. I had to be open to concepts that typically I wouldn't be used to doing, and then I had to really tap into the things that I had learned over the course of the years in my time in the military and saw to help me get over the threshold. When I got out, in 2016, I didn't fully know what I was going to do. Like, I thought I was just going to be a speaker. I had a background in speaking, and I also had a background in writing, especially with the work that I did in the teams in human intelligence. And but I just didn't quite know what I was going to do. And the phone didn't ring, man. I put the word out there to speak and to consult, and companies didn't call, like nothing happened. And here I am just like, dang, I got to pay the bills. I had a good cushion of money saved up, and my wife is a doctor, so that helped tremendously, but still. And then finally, I received a phone call to do the Transformers film. And again, I wasn't an actor. I wasn't trying to be an actor. I had no desire to be an actor. But I was open. I was just like, okay, this is not something that I would, beat down the door to go do, but let me just try it and see where it goes. And I did. And it was just supposed to be one day, but long story short, it ended up turning into 6 months. And that just opened up so many more doors in the arts for me. I got more commercial work as an actor. I was able to do some work on a TV show. And then when Transformers came out, that's when, I got a lot of media coverage. My story got a lot of media coverage. And that's how I was able to get my book deal through HarperCollins. And there's way more to the story, but I'm kind of, I'm condensing it for the sake of just.
Let's go back in your story a little bit. You said you're a writer and a human collector, by the way, hashtag Spy vs. Spy.
Yeah.
Human guy too.
Yeah.
I like to have these gritty conversations about what it is. So we're writers. We
tell stories. Yeah.
And you have to tell it in a format that people can understand. But why does that make you a writer?
Well, man, it goes even back past that. When I was a kid, my mom. And I'm gonna get to your answer.
You're good.
I'm sorry. I'm just a person that likes to give extra context, so I apologize in advance. My mom would make me write as a kid. She would make me, read articles in the New York Times, and and write reports on those articles. And if those articles weren't, if those reports weren't near perfect, she would make us start all over again. She would make us read tons of books and write reports on them because the public education system in the Bronx was really, really bad. And she was a teacher, and she didn't want us to fall behind. She wanted us to stay ahead. So that's where I learned the principles of writing. So fast forward to when I got into the teams, and in human, you got to write a lot of reports. And a lot of team guys run away from that job because the last thing you want to do after getting off in the op is sit in a freaking room, one of those rooms that, don't have windows. If starting out, it took me hours. Because as you know, there's a format that you have to follow. You gotta do a lot of correcting. Your grammar has to be on point because these reports are going up the chain of command.
Because you're not writing a report just for like the person immediately above you.
Yeah.
Elements of your report can end up on the general's desk.
Yeah. Or the agency. Yeah. Or the DIA.
You're trying to write to an audience that you just don't know.
Yeah.
Really challenging.
Yeah.
I found that a lot of times the military would say, "Oh, that's something we can do."
Yeah.
All of a sudden they show up and they're like, "We're here to help."
Yeah. No, 100%. And it took me a while. I had a great mentor who had been, been the SEAL. Man, he was in the teams at this point about 25 years. Human guy for most of that time, and he was very patient with me, and he really taught me the ropes, and he taught me how to be a storyteller because a big part of it is being able to tell a story in a way where somebody feels like they're in the room with you when they're reading that report. And so that's where my writing skills began to get sharpened. And so that's why when I got out and Transformers happened, I went on a press tour and I got the book deal. That's why I felt confident. I didn't feel confident at first to write the book because at first my mom was supposed to write the book. But then after I read her first 2 chapters that she wrote, I was just like, this is not me. Like, I need to write this book. And I started all over again. And what helped give me that confidence was all of the writing that I had done for, years in the teams, and that's after I finished writing the book, that's when I really began to identify myself as a writer. But it came after, people reading it and saying, wow, like, this is a great book. Who wrote this? You wrote this? Like, I can't believe you wrote this. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'm a writer now.
Did you study writing in college?
No, my master's I did a lot of writing in college and did in my master's program, but no, my master's is in organizational strategy. So I never had I don't have a degree in writing. I
think that's funny, especially probably a lot of your teammates and fellow vets are like, who helped you write the book? I did, man. Like,
I did. Yeah.
People ask me that too. Like, oh, would you have someone? No, the name on the front is that's it. That's who gets credit for.
And that's the thing.
Sitting right here, we're in Remi's office with all his his cool kick-ass knee wall. I've got one too.
Yeah.
It's just sitting your ass down and
doing the work
and doing this, right? Putting fingers on a keyboard and writing great stuff, and then.
And a lot of team guys, run away from that job. Because that's one thing that upsets me. I'm sure you can relate to it. Is people like, you wrote this? Are you sure you wrote this? Like, yes. Why wouldn't I? Because most team guys or most military guys don't write.
We're some dumb knuckle draggers. Like, I'm an infantry guy. Crayon eating jokes, whatever.
Yeah.
No, man. That's what the beauty. And I've said this before is that our military is comprised of poets and musicians and artisans and sometimes writers, and that's what makes us so great. Is that as a commander, especially knowing who those guys are in your unit, not just seeing the guy with the saw or the sniper rifle, but knowing what's beneath that and their talents and really leveraging that. Yeah, I think that's what made me a better leader, and I think that using that philosophy throughout my life is. Really bled into everything I've done too, and I hear you talk about that a lot too, about everything you learn in the military and coming from a crappy upbringing in the Bronx, and coming from Africa to the Bronx, and getting out of Africa, getting out of the Bronx, getting out of selling drugs, and barely escaping with your life to join the Navy. And you apply that every single day.
Absolutely.
And I don't like to use the word transition because I take all the things I learned in my 24 years in the Marine Corps and I apply them to everything I do every day, and you do too.
Exactly.
How pervasive is that every day when you're coming in here and doing the work?
It's easy for me. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's fluid. Because for years I've been I did it for so many years, and now it's just like, when I know I've had a hard writing day the day before, which is yesterday, I had a really, really hard writing day.
What's a hard writing day?
Just when, when I'm not moving the needle, because I'm just stuck. And it's not writer's block. It's just like, I've got to this place where the story can go in so many different directions, but I needed to go in one direction. And, I need to be so specific to stay down that one direction. And I'm just stuck.
Talk a little bit about, I always like to hear from different authors.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking around the room. This is like really badass pad. He's got, it's real, everything's framed like my crib too. Yeah. And I see a tiny little whiteboard. Is that all you need, or do you keep it all here electronically? What's your process?
Well, a few things. One, that's my word. It just helps for my vocabulary. I've always kept that up there. But for notes, as far as like I'm writing a film right now, I have whatever the title of that film is. I have it in there, and then when certain ideas come to mind, or certain lines come to mind, or story arcs come to mind, I just put it in there, because I get ideas like all the time, and especially in the middle of the night. Yeah, and it's just like, I don't want to forget it, so I just pop up, and I'll just I just literally right before you guys came in, I had this idea for part of the ending, how part of the ending of the film is going, how it's going to end. And I was just like, I need to write that down now, because I'm going to forget. So, I do different things. And another thing I do is, which helps me, is I have conversations about it. It's funny. Like, somebody reached out to me, what's today? Yeah, earlier this week. Actually last week. And they want me to partner with them on a project, like another historical film, and as a writer. And we were having this conversation about, story arc, and just this idea came to me for this film. Something I've been asking myself, like, what is the motivation behind these characters? Like, why do they keep showing up day in and day out? And I knew at some point, I knew I didn't have to answer it like right away, but I knew at some point I needed to answer that question. And through that conversation about another project that I'm probably going to start writing soon, like, it hit me. Like, this is their motivation. This is the motivation that's not only going to drive the story forward, but that the audience is going to get behind and be like, yes, now I'm with them even more so than I was with them before. And so, there's different things. It's taking notes, it's having conversations, it's sitting at the computer and revisiting the last scene that I did over and over and over and over again.
And now you're talking about, because I don't think a lot of people understand this, the medium aspect of it is, you're talking about writing a screenplay.
Yeah.
You're talking about writing for TV, miniseries, or a full-length feature film.
Yeah.
Which, again, as a writer, people say, "Oh, Remi, you're a writer. Can you write me a poem?" Well, I'm not a poet.
Yeah.
Can you write me a haiku, which Pete is great at? Scott, can you write narrative nonfiction? Yeah, absolutely. Scott, can you write a screenplay?
Yeah.
Nope. I don't know the mechanics. I've got it first draft. I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Billy Ray's like, "Oh, I'll teach you how to use that." I'm like, great. I'll spend a year hanging out with you in LA. But it's the same.
You'll learn in. I could teach you in a week.
Well, we're
probably less than that.
Yeah, you might be my guy.
I gotta say this: Jeff Calhoun has the guide for every screenwriter.
Jeff Calhoun, yeah.
That book, I'm gonna send this book to you.
Yeah.
And it's so incredible.
Yeah.
He takes even like the slug line, and he's like, "You just do this, this, and this." He formalizes everything. And if you got a formula, you can change the formula, but at least now you have it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's so brilliant at that.
But when you're an artist, it's equivalent to saying, "Well, you're a fine artist, Scott. Paint me a watercolor." I'm like, "Well, I only do lithographs."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I love about this book, man. I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to take some shit for this. Probably people listen. It's like, you sold a ton of books.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a good-looking guy. You're a jockey model. You do all that. You're an actor. That doesn't hurt. But you didn't feel the need to stamp a Navy SEAL trident on the cover.
Yeah.
You separated yourself from that. And as I was writing mine, there was not a lot of Marine books written about our fight in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And I'd go into Barnes & Noble, and I'd see this stuff, and every single one has got the trident.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and I've read some of them.
Yeah.
And some of them I'm like, man, if I open this up and I got to read another chapter about buds. And this and that. And some of it's good. Some of it, I've got my own opinions, but I think like it's done well, because you could basically put a ham sandwich in between these two covers and put a Navy SEAL trident. Yeah. You have a big following because of that. Why didn't you do that?
I didn't want to write a Navy SEAL book, man. Like that's just point blank, man. Like there's so much to my story. Being a Navy SEAL is part of my story. It's not the whole story. And, so one, that was one motivational factor. Another thing is, like you said, there's so many Navy SEAL books out there. You know what I mean? And then another thing for me is, there's a lot of flack behind, guys who write books get a lot of flack. And from guys who don't even read the books, right? So
in the teams you're talking about,
like
teams,
SEALs. In the teams. And what I didn't want to happen was, another team guy writing a book, which is going to happen anyway. But I wanted to be able to say with confidence, read my book. There's only 3 chapters in the book about the teams.
4-chapter book?
It's a 29 chapter. That's a perfect book. It's a 29 chapter book, but I intentionally wrote it that way because I just wanted to share a journey, because 99.9% of people on this planet will never, ever be a Navy SEAL. So I felt like personally, and this is not speaking for other guys, I felt personally, if I wrote a Navy SEAL book, I would just be writing it to entertain. What I want to do is I want to write a book for the purpose of inspiring positive transformation, bringing reconciliation, because as you guys know, there's so much division in the country. I wanted to bring, reconciliation. I wanted to bring healing. I wanted to bare my bones so that people see that, dang, like, this guy was a failure. Like he's a failure. He's failed so much, but he's picked himself back up. That's me. Like, I failed so much. I wanted to write a book that people could relate to, because 99.9% of people on the face of this planet will fail at something at some point in their life. But 99.9999% of people will never, ever be Navy SEALs. So, that was one of the other factors, one of the other reasons why I didn't want to put the Trident on it, because it's not a Navy SEAL book. It
takes a lot of personal courage as a business person, as a writer, to not do that, knowing that there's there's SEAL groupies in America, and there's a fascination with the, even though a lot of the curtain has been pulled back, but still to do that, I think it takes some balls, to really break away from that. And you're right, guys like Matt and Marcus and Rob, like there's a lot of infighting, and you guys.
And I'm not knocking anybody.
Neither am I. Like I like those guys, and I think there's importance to every story, and I think it takes courage, knowing that you're going to take some shit within your community and outside. And I said, you know what? Don't drink the poison to those guys, and I'm friends with some of them, and I think that there's definitely a market for that. But again, like, that's what I love about Transformed is you shared in this book. And let me ask you this question, because people have asked me this. At what point in the writing process where you got like 90, 100,000 words and you're like, hey, I got to stop writing. Like, there's too much. And then someone read it and said, hey, there's not enough of you.
Well, honestly, I didn't get that. I never had somebody say, it's not enough of you in the book. What I did get, though, is my publisher wanted this book to be 60 to 80,000 words.
What did it come out at?
It's 100, and I turned in 129,000. Like, and literally,
what it boiled down to?
It's 125,000.
Wow.
Yeah, but they literally fought me, because they were just like, nobody reads 60 to 80,000, and nobody reads over 60 to 80,000
short
books
attention
anymore.
span theater, right?
And I was just like, huh? And I get that, but I was just like, they wanted me to cover a lot in the book. They wanted me to talk about Africa, the Bronx, drugs, all the stuff I did in the Bronx, sneaking into the Navy, going through BUD/S, getting kicked out of BUD/S, my time with the Marines, going back to BUD/S, being a SEAL, marriage, faith, going back to Africa, acting, all of these things. And I'm like, if I wrote about all of that, I would have to paraphrase every chapter of the book.
Absolutely.
And so I got the opposite. They were just like, we want this book to be half the size. And
it's not that long. It's 350 pages.
Yeah.
An extra 50 pages to get.
It's funny, like, after I turned it into the editor, the publisher turned it into the editor, because the publisher was complaining about it being long. The editor was like, Remi, we need to add more.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, there's so many things we need to add. She was like, I want to know more about, like, your grandmother and that relationship. I want to know more about your kids and how that affected you getting out. Like, there needs to be more. I was like, huh? I was like, I'm glad you said that, because The publisher was saying otherwise, because the publisher hired an editor who was
the project
contract. Who didn't work for the company.
I want to ask you more of like an existential question. So you have had all these transformational moments.
Yeah.
I mean, rich to poor in Africa, and then you escape and do the immigrant thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, not immigrant. My mom was American, so I was born a U.S. citizen abroad. Yeah.
Well, either way, you had to leave where you did live and a new country. That's still a big deal. And then, the Bronx and all the traps there that you managed to get out of. And then you end up in the SEALs. I mean, look, I know a lot of SEALs, and none of you guys are traditional SEALs, but I can see why you didn't write a SEAL book, because that's you're not just that one thing.
Yeah.
You've had all these things. Have you found it now? Are you done transforming, and is this here in the greater Southern California area, nondescript location?
Yeah. Batcave.
Is this where you belong now?
I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to put a limit on myself. I don't want to say that it is. Right now, I'm in this season where I'm a writer. Yeah. You know what I mean? I have had these, and now I've discovered this ability to write. So that's where I'm at now. I have aspirations to go past that. My ultimate dream is to be a writer-director. Be directing films. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not this young kid that's like, I'm going to be a director right now, because I know the odds of that are, highly against me.
I dispute those odds, man, especially with a guy like you. For one, you have a hugely successful book, Transformed, that is published from a very large publishing house. Yeah. And who are we talking about? Mark Pattison or something? It's like, the odds of getting a book published are less than becoming a pro football player.
I didn't know that.
It's easier to get in the NFL, the odds-wise, than to actually get a book published by mainstream publishers. Just to do that.
Yeah.
And I love being around guys like you that have so much energy. He's like, I did this. Yeah, book's done. Next. Most people say, you wrote a book?
Yeah.
And now you're writing this, and now you're doing this. You want to do this, and when you say if it happens, no, it's going to happen.
I'll take it. I'll receive it.
You do that.
I'll receive it.
And you know how we'll do that is through this cool, kick-ass network of veteran artists, and building this coalition of guys that are willing to support, willing to share, willing to connect, and just share the love, man.
And another thing too, dude. I don't want to be known as a SEAL. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds weird, but I'm not that anymore. I was that, you know what I mean? So I get frustrated sometimes when people are like, Remi Adeleke, former Navy SEAL. I'm like, former's in there for a reason. Yeah. This is who I am now. And I think that the more, transformations that happen, the further I'll get away from that, where now it is this guy is a real deal writer now, this guy's a real deal director, or this guy's a real deal whatever. I do work in a nonprofit space as well. I work with a nonprofit here in San Diego called City Hope Now, and I work with in the city at-risk kids. I'm in jails, I'm in prisons. I'll be in Rikers Island next week. Back there, I was there a couple weeks ago, visiting, speaking, inspiring, showing these guys, you guys made mistakes, but pick yourself up off the ground. There's so much more out there if you get your education, because I'm all about education. So I don't want to be a SEAL, When
I think about guys like us that have done impossible things, first off, writing a book, let's just say it's impossible. Becoming a SEAL is impossible.
Yeah.
Or 500 episodes of a podcast plus.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, right? If you look ahead, it's there's no way I could go through buds or write this book or whatever it is. These are a movie. Every movie is impossible.
Yeah.
If you look at the odds, no one would ever bank on it because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And yet you find a way to get there. When you're looking at people that don't have that next step, I talk to a lot of Iraqis. That is hopeless.
Yeah.
There's nothing in my future.
Yeah.
It's God damn, how do I give this person the next thing so they, won't say yes to that mission of blowing themselves up or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you give someone at Rikers Island who's, bound by their own mistakes, bound by society to not have a future? What do you do to give it to them?
What I do is I bare my soul, man. I'm vulnerable. I just share the ugliest, worst parts of myself. That's the crime with social media, right? With social media, so many people share the best parts of their self. And one thing that I found working with at-risk kids, being an at-risk kid myself, working in jails and prisons and different places, is that those type of people respond to authenticity. they respond to you saying, you know what? Yeah, you are where you are, but check out what I did. And that's something people talk to me about, message me about in the book a lot is, Remi, I can't believe you said this in the book. I can't believe you shared this situation. Oh, sorry, I can't believe you shared about this situation or that, or said you were crying or this and that. And I was like, you know what? When you are authentic, that inspires and touches people, and it resonates with people. It connects with people. And so, you know, that's how I do.
Authenticity, but there's fearless authenticity too, though. We can sit down with Rudy Reyes, and he can talk about having a gun in his mouth, and we can all share our moment like that. You can't be, if you're going to help someone, you can't hide those things.
Yeah. And that's what I find that helps people with the next steps. You know, it's funny. I did a post yesterday because I'm doing a swim across the Hudson River, which I'm not looking forward to next week.
That's coming up on the 3rd.
The 3rd of August.
Kaj Larson's going to be there. Jeff Gum is going to be there.
Yeah, man. And a part of me was going to do this post like, I'm doing this swim. But then another part of me was like, be honest. And so I was honest. I was like, I'm not looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Because I haven't swam in 2 miles in a long period of time. I hate being cold. The Hudson River's filthy. I'm not looking forward to this.
And you suck at swimming.
And I suck at swimming. Yeah,
in the Navy, Navy SEAL, and like had to battle through that. Like read about that in the book. And like listen,
And this is an important thing. I want to jump in because I want to say this too. The same thing with service.
Yeah.
You know, like, I give to charity. Like, I'm officially like the Break It Down show and Save the Brave are partnered together.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's hard. Service is hard. You got to stick your neck out. You got to like, I can't help this person in this way, so I'm going to force myself to do this because that's really what service is. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be like, I choose. Look at Gary Sinise and what he does.
Yeah.
That ain't fun and easy. It's like
he has a lot going on.
He's been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah.
That's what when you talk about this, every time I meet someone like you, it's like, God, man, you're lighting candles in my church, and I think, and no one would ever guess, like, maybe we were separated at birth because all the things you talk about, all the positivity of like, and I've written and spoken about these things nationally, like you is. The Marine Corps was a big part of my life, 25 years, but it never defined me as a person.
Exactly.
And that's not what I'm doing now. I want to be known for what I'm doing now and through giving. And if you're not helping others, you're really not helping yourself. And I know that's what you do. I see it. And sharing the losses is so much more important than all the wins.
No, exactly.
Because to do that and be vulnerable and to really lay that out there, it is, and social media is a powerful tool. Yeah. You're on it. I'm on it. I've learned more about social media at age 49 than I ever wanted to.
It's a tool, man.
They see that one snapshot again, but they don't see the 5 hours behind that work.
Yeah.
And no one wants to see that, and for a good reason.
Yeah.
Most people's lives are pretty ordinary.
Yeah.
And when they go to this little device and they look at their phone, they want to escape and they want to see puppies and happy pictures and guys on stage with celebrities. And that's cool, but the reality is for you to write, continue to write, battle through that, give to charity, give of your time. That takes a lot of bandwidth. And P.S., you've got three kids and a wife.
And my youngest is 4 months, man. So we don't sleep at night, man. Yeah, man. But man.
Do you know Ty Smith?
Yeah, SEAL, right?
He's got
daughter. Right, daughter, right?
I think so.
Yeah. He was my buds instructor for a bit.
Okay.
He was my bud. But man, what I was, getting back to that post, what I was saying, I there were a lot of people who responded. Because I said, I'm not looking forward to this for these reasons, but here's a lesson that I'm learning in this is that, in order for us to move forward, we have to challenge ourselves. We have to be uncomfortable. That's the only way we see results. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't challenge myself and do those uncomfortable things. And I won't get to where I need to be unless I continue to follow that trend. And so I said that, and there were a lot of people that was just like, thank you for saying that. Like, because, I needed to hear that, you don't want to do this so that I could, because there's a lot of things I don't want to do to move forward. But I got one guy, like one SEAL who's like, you didn't swim since 2 miles. Like, you haven't swam 2 miles since SEAL training. I did this, I did that. And he totally missed the point. Like, the point is I could have easily said, I'm looking forward to this swim. I could have lied and been like, I just trained, did a 2 mile swim, whatever, last week. He totally missed it. The point wasn't for me to put myself out there as, look at how great I am. The point was to put myself out there like, look how bad I am.
I'm scared to swim 2 miles right now.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
I ask pretty much all the special operators because I get a common answer, and I think it's really illustrative of what our world is like.
Yeah.
As a SEAL, as a human collector going out and doing things, have you fired more rounds at the enemy or had more conversations?
I fired some rounds at the enemy, that's for sure. I've had more conversations. I mean, as a human guy, I mean, in order for us to be able to go out the door, I had to do my job. Yeah. Like, especially where, one of all the deployments I was on, it was like, in order for us to go out the door, we had to have intel. Sometimes that intel was fed to us, but it still had to be corroborated. And so I would have to have meetings. Sometimes I didn't have to corroborate it, but then there were a lot of times where, our shop was driving a lot of our operations. And so, I had to have meeting after meeting after meeting, write report, send it up. Nope, this is not good enough. Nope, because the information, it was not like the Wild Wild West, like some people think, oh, bad guys at this house. All right, we're going to, strap it on and go after bad guy. Right. You can't just do whatever you want to do. You have to build an intel package to be able to go out the door. And it has to be vetted and screened all the way up the chain of command. And so I had to have a lot of meetings in order to make sure that the information was vetted, that if one source was giving me a piece of information, I had to vet that against, at a minimum, one other source. Then that information had to be vetted with, whether it was, I don't know what the terminology is now, but whether it was Tizer or whether it was SIGINT or whether it was some old reporting. And then that's how we go out the door. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So I had a lot of conversations. I'll probably have more conversations.
But that's the common answer, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people have this perception that we're in a gunfight the second we leave the camp. But most of the time, you're trying to set up a meeting so you can. There's nothing worse than going to the wrong house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dry holes. Yeah. Dry holes, wrong houses.
Or how about just the whole of human lives in it?
Yeah.
You come in like it's not a dry hole, and you find out, oh, shit, I hate that.
Yeah. I remember one time we were on op, and we hit the wrong house because it happens. And, we still have to do an SSE, and what happens with an SSE for the most part, and you feel bad because it wasn't the wrong house because of our intel. It was the guy had bounced around, so he could have been there. But he had bounced around to different locations, and so he had used this one out. But anyway, we did a full-out SSE, and the house was. Happy.
Yeah, we talked about SSE before, sensitive site exploitation. So anyone listening, imagine on TV or Hollywood some gangster mafia movie and guys coming in and tossing your house and go through everything times 12 guys. Like that happens. Yeah,
ripping up carpets.
That's a bad day.
Yeah, ripping up carpets.
It's inconceivable to most of the public.
Yeah.
To have 8 to 12 badass SEALs or Marines coming in, kicking your door in at 3 a.m. You're dead aslead. Yeah, that's a bad day, man.
I always tried to make sure that, any information I was collecting was vetted. Being a guy from the streets, of New York, I knew how to read people really, really well. Because I remember being around the fake gangsters, the real gangsters. You know what I mean? I remember, just situations where I could tell when somebody was lying, tell when somebody was trying to scam me right away. So I took all of those things that I learned in the streets, and I would apply that in my meetings, and that helped me tremendously. So I was always able to really, find out like immediately whether somebody was lying to me or trying to play me or whatever. So that helped tremendously.
All that life skill that you bring to your military career and being successful. Guys ask this question a lot. You've probably gotten it. It's like, do you miss that type of brotherhood and the excitement of it all? That as I use the word friction a lot. Like, do you miss that?
Oh yeah, I think there'll be a big part of me that always misses it. But then there's a part of me that's like, man, I get to live a normal life. I mean, well, no one lives a normal life, but I get to live a more normal life. But a big part of me misses it, and just that camaraderie and, just, going out the door. And the biggest thing I miss is, getting briefed for op and just like, man, this can be the one that, where guys get smoked or, this is going to be a dangerous one, or we're going into this place that's like, we're outnumbered and everybody looks at each other like, Roger that, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, I'll miss that. You'll never get that anywhere else, where it's just like, that you can go somewhere, going out the door, going out where you could die, and everybody's like, so what? Let's go. You know what I mean? So I'll definitely miss that.
Did you replace that feeling?
I do. I'm a family man now, dude. So my kids are, they keep me sane. They keep me like, I need to be here on this earth for them, so that they don't go down the same path I went down. So it's like replaced, but it's replaced in a different way, where it's just like, I need to stay alive. I don't need to go out the door to do something. I need to be here so I could be as much of alive as I can to be in their lives. That makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, because a lot of guys that we talk to in our community too have gone through their share of struggles after they were in the military and combat, through drugs, alcohol, suicide attempts, and you're not really one of those guys. So you push fast and you immediately.
No, I mean, I'm going through some really rough patches, man.
Tell me.
It's just depression. When I got out, just like trying to figure out my way. Trying to figure out like questioning whether I made the right decision by getting out. You know what I mean? And
phone didn't ring.
Yeah. Yeah, the phone didn't ring. And then, having I've had so many dudes get killed, man. So many, like, of my brothers, like guys I was, I was in buds with, or, even Marines, you know what I mean? Or, guys who I was, deployed with, just brothers, you know what I mean? And
right over your shoulder is Charles Keating IV right now.
Yeah, we were in buds together. We were in Delta platoon together, you know what I mean? And so that messed with me a lot too when I got out, like, dang, man, I'm out, like, I can't do this anymore. But I worked through it. Faith is a big part of who I am, you know what I mean? So a lot of prayer and, reading the word and, just recognizing that I have hope, you know what I mean? That helps me. Even today, when things are going south, I always remember that I have hope, like tomorrow's going to be a better day. You know what I mean? Things are going to work out. I may not understand why things are going south, but you know what? There's a purpose and plan behind it. And all of the bad things that I've gone through, like when I look back at it, they've made me a better man. I didn't like it when I was going through it, but it's like ultimately when I do look back on it, there was a lesson, there was something I was able to pull out of it that made me who I am today.
If you had to tell somebody listening that doesn't have faith in organized religion or whatever it is, the difference between hope and belief, what do you tell someone like that to latch onto?
Wow, that's a good question. I just go back to Romans 8:28. We know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes for them. So, that's all I can say is, everything happens for a reason. And there's a lesson in that reason, whether they have a faith or they don't have a faith. I just try to tell them everything happens for a reason. And you may not understand this, but, there is a God who is in control and he's going to work it out, like whether you believe or you don't. So and again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier to your question, like, how do you connect with those people? And like when I speak to people, I don't try to speak from head knowledge a lot. Like, I know because this book says this or this. I try to speak from experience, and I say, and so I'll share my experiences. Like, here's what I faced. Here's what I went through in this particular situation when I was hopeless, and here's what I did, and here's where I'm at now because of what I did. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, just saying, well, there is a God, and you need to believe in God, and that's only it, and that doesn't work. You know what I mean? It has to be like from experience, like just being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Here's how I struggle, and here's what I do to try and get out of my struggle. That's what works for me. And either you could try it or you could try something else, but that's what works for me.
You talked about how divided we are. So Sebastian never came on the show, and he gave all of us a tasking. By the way, Warno, here comes your tasking.
Yeah.
But he said, you guys have gone away and done all this stuff for us, but come home and rally us in the middle.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've been exploring is patriotism, because I hear it, like the needle's kind of moving on it. Bad, right?
Yeah.
How do you define it? And just give us some illustrations of that.
How do I define patriotism? I think in the simplest form, it's just being grateful for being able to live in this country. I think that's the simplest form of patriotism, you know what I mean? And I can speak from that. I mean, we could all speak from that from experience because, I was born in another country, you know what I mean? I lived in that other country, which is a very corrupt country, Nigeria. I've gone back to that country and I've seen it's still very corrupt, consistently ranked as one of the most corrupt nations in the world. I've been there, so I know what it's like, you know what I mean? And then obviously we've been to other countries where it's like the Wild Wild West, you know what I mean? Women have absolutely no rights at all. You know what I mean? People of different sexual orientations are murdered, just for their sexual orientation or whatever. And without any question, you can't question the government. You can't talk bad about a government leader. If you do, you get your head chopped off, or you get, executed, or you get thrown in jail. And so,
not hyperbly, literally,
no, it happens.
Your head chopped
no, it
off.
happens. No, it literally happens.
We've operated in places where we've seen heads.
Yeah,
I mean,
no lawyer, no, pleading the fifth, none of that. And so to go from those environments and having lived and been born in one of those environments to now being here, like, I'm grateful, right? I'm grateful to be in this country. Yes, this country is not perfect, but I'm grateful to be here because of the freedoms we have here and the ability to walk down the street, the ability to criticize government leaders and not have to worry about cops rolling in my house at night and throwing me in jail for criticizing leaders, the ability to do whatever I want to do. So not whatever I want to do, but, live somewhat of a normal life. And so I think it's the simplest form is being grateful to be here. Obviously serving in the military is a form of patriotism. Because now you're going that step further by saying, you know what, I'm not just grateful, but I'm going to show how grateful I am by, serving in the military. So I think that's one way. And yeah, I mean,
you got young boys that are still very formidable right now.
Yeah.
After everything that you've been through, and I deal with this too, is having a teenager is giving them everything. And you look around, it's a beautiful home, beautiful area in Southern California, all the success that you enjoyed, that you worked for and earned. What's your strategy moving forward to make sure that they are grateful, that they, even though they didn't have to go through all that thing, which is the intent of every parent. And there's a lot of parents listening to this show. Well, how do you plan to keep them grounded? Volunteerism? Reminding them?
Yeah, obviously
we love to spoil them.
Remind them we watched Glory last night. My wife, she did a really good job at explaining to them, like, this is what some people went through, like, in order for us to have America to be what it is. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, and like, my wife, she tries to get the comment, because you got to keep in mind, my oldest is 5, my youngest is 4. So because she had to stop. She's like, can't watch the scene at the end when they're all getting thrown in the grave or whatever. But she took them aside to really explain, like, this is why they died in the film, And so, like, we do things like that, example. I think, it's so easy to tell a kid to do something, or tell a kid, this is what I believe, you need to believe it, or whatever. I think it's through allowing them to see how you live your life and how you're grateful to be in this country, or how you had to work hard to get to where, how hard work does pay off. When they see, like, when my kids, they come to my office all the time, they're like, Daddy, like, you've been here for 2 hours working. And it's a work, because my kids just went back to school. They were on summer break, and so I still had to work normal hours. And they're like, you always working so much in the office. I'm like that's hard work. Like, I have to follow through. I've started working on something. I need to continue working on it in order for us to be able to pay the bills. And they were just like, oh, okay. But now when they're in school and they're struggling with something, I can say same thing. You know how Daddy works hard? You got to work hard in school. Like, everything's not going to come to you easy. It's funny. Like, one thing I did with them 2 months ago, I took them down to Skid Row in San Diego. Because it was before they went on summer break, because they started complaining, I don't want to go to school. We don't like going to school, this and that. And I was just like, well, if you don't go to school, you won't be able to progress in school, and then you won't be able to go to college, and you won't be able to get a job, and you won't be able to have a life. And it was like, yeah, but we still don't want to go to school. Like, why do we have to go to school? And so I was like, okay. So I was like, I need to show them, because again, it's one thing to say you got to do this, it's another thing to show. And I took them down, and we walked around, and it was hard to explain the word, poor, homeless, because they don't really get that. So I just, and wasn't a way, I wasn't trying to degrade the homeless. It was just a way to help them understand. So I was like, they're bush, like bush people. Like they're people who don't have houses, so they have to live in the bush. And I say bush because that's what they understand. You know what I mean? Like they're not literally living in a bush, but because my kids understand we have bushes around our house. So bush people, like they don't have anything but a bush. Like they have nothing. They use the bathroom in a bush. And so we walked all around. Like, and they saw some people strung out on drugs, some people. But once they got those visuals, they were just like. Afterwards, I was like, now do you understand why you go to school? They was like, yes, Daddy, yes, Daddy. I was like, we go to school, and if you ask my kids, they'll explain it all to you. At 5 and 4, they'll be like, we go to school so that we can go to college, so that we can get a job, so we don't end up like a bush person.
We had Drez from Black Sheep. He's from New York also, and he's great at that. He talks about it when he was on. I'm gonna try not to get emotional because I get emotional every time I talk about this. But he was talking about Kanye versus like the responsibility with that voice. Instead of going up and talking about whatever, Drez was saying he has a recurring dream where he's a slave escaping, on the Underground Railroad. He's running and running and running. And I'll cut it short, but he gets to a curtain and he opens the curtain. There's a microphone, and he's had this whole journey in his dream. And he's like, now what am I going to say? And it's not going to be me. It's not going to be Instagram. It's going to be something else. And there's an accountability there for all the things that we've all had to do. What we see, like what can happen in the country. It's powerful. So to take your kids to, a place where it's nothing but hard living, that's powerful.
And the thing is, I mean, it might be controversial to say, but, for the most part, mental illness, put that aside, right? Because you can't blame a person with mental illness for ending up where they are, you know what I mean? But there are some people that they do it to themselves. And I want my kids to understand that, like, to a certain extent, you are a master of your fate. Like, if 1 + 1 = 2, if you do the work, you will end up here.
And you are such a great example, too, of being emblematic of changing your fate. And work. That word is pervasive in this whole interview. Is on this episode is the work you put in. The work to
whether it was I don't know what the terminology is now, but whether it was Tizzer or whether it was
the work to, you could have quit. You could have not gone back to Buds. You could have been a line corpsman with the Marine Corps and had a successful, great career and served, but you didn't quit. You shaped your own future. You continue to create opportunities for yourself. And I tell you, anybody listening to the show, you want to learn more about that, you got to read this book, Transformed, and you got to listen to what Remi's message is because he's speaking for himself. I don't speak for the entire veteran community. I speak for myself, and I use that voice. I'm fortunate to have it. I can tell just by looking at you and listening to you that you take that on as a great responsibility. And when you do get that feedback from people that you made an impact, I think that's important. Share just one story that you've received from a reader or someone that's listened to your story or heard you speak, something that's really impacted you from giving.
It's been so many. It's like,
what's the one that made you cry the hardest?
Well, man, there's been so many. I mean, the one that pops out immediately is the messages. They were just funny because I posted them actually, and I actually read them because I posted them because they were, and something's really resonated with me when I post about it. And I wasn't posting about it the point in my chest. I was posting about it just to, because it stuck with me. But here it goes. This and literally they came back to back. So one message was, tomorrow I take my third PST. This one I'm going to pass, get my contract. Just wanted to thank you for being an inspiration to a young black man out of the hood I was always told by old heads that you can't do it. You're black. Ain't no niggas, no Navy SEAL. And I let that hold me back. Then I came across your story, which led me to a mental change on my end. That just because someone else says it can't be done doesn't mean that it can't be done. So I hope to become part of the brotherhood. I don't need a reply, not asking for any advice or any of your time. Just wanted to say thank you for showing me what I could truly accomplish by pushing past people's mentality. And then literally 10 minutes later, I get this other message from this guy and these two guys are not affiliated at all. And he says, hey, brother, just wanted to reach out to you to tell you what an inspirational person you are to me. Like you, I'm also from the BX. I grew up in Kingsbridge Road, right next to you. I'm a third-class Naval Air Crew station in Washington. Your accomplishments show me nothing is impossible for people where we are from. So for that, I want to say thank you for giving me hope. So, I mean, those kind of resonate with me, and they pop in my mind immediately because these are people from the environment that I grew up in, right? And why that connects with me so much more is because I was that kid in the Bronx who didn't think I could become anything but a rapper, a drug dealer, or athlete.
You're not those things?
Can you rap? I can't. You know what I mean? But, and so much of inner city culture, and this whole nother conversation, who's to blame, who's not to blame, but there's so much that's the stereotype, and the public education system in so many inner cities are horrible. Horrible. My mom was a teacher in the South Bronx, and she could tell you some stories of teachers walking to the classroom saying, none of you guys are going to be anything, putting their earphones in and saying, here's your lesson, do it, and checking out. Literally, that's how bad the public education. And when I was coming up, from what I heard from being back there, it's still really, really bad. That's why a lot of parents are sending their kids to charter schools. But anyway, I say all that to say, I didn't know I could become a SEAL. I didn't know that I could be a writer. I didn't know that I could be a doctor. My brother's an engineer. I didn't know that he could be an engineer because of just this environment that we're in. And so when I finally broke out and was like, wow, I can be something other than this, it really drove me to be more than what I thought I could be. And so to now be on the other side and to have young kids, minorities from where I'm from, see my story and it's just inspires me and see that, man, I can do this. That's what really connects with me. I can, Remi did it. Because, I think less than 1% of
you thought you were the least probable guy to get where you're at today.
To get where I'm at today. And, less than 1% of Navy SEAls are African American. You know what I mean?
I love that part where you talk about that. Is not only did you stick out because of your deficiency swimming, but you physically stuck out.
Yeah, I physically stuck out. And so, to be able to, and again, I wrote the book to inspire everybody, right? I wanted to inspire white, black, whatever you are, I don't care. I wanted to be able to inspire, hey, you have a deficiency on the road towards your dream. You could accomplish it if you put in the work. Yes, you failed, but you could pick yourself up. So that message is universal in the book. But I also wanted to really speak to those kids who there's only one other black Navy SEAL book, and that's David Goggins, right? And so, I wanted them to be, but I don't think he's from Buffalo, New York. I'm from the hood. I'm from the Bronx, you know what I mean? So I wanted kids from those inner cities. So to get those messages, that's what really makes sense.
In David's book too, phenomenally successful, but it's a totally different message too.
Yeah.
So if you want to, this has been a great interview. We're blowing it out of the water, and there's going to be other episodes where we're going to learn more about you. Yeah. But you got to get transformed and read this story because we haven't even scratched the surface. We were just digging in on education, and we got some politics. We could have gone into rapping. We could have gone into directing. So there's a lot of great stuff. Man, I'm so glad to hang with you today.
No, absolutely. Anytime, man.
Looking forward. If people want to find out more, where do they buy the book first? Tell everybody.
Get the book Transformed, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Indie Books. Just Google Transformed book and everybody's selling it.
And if they want to find you on social media, where do they go?
Social media, Remi Adeleke. I have a unique name, so I don't have to. It's not the official. It's just Remi Adeleke on Instagram, Facebook. Remi.
Yeah, you can't miss it. We were talking about all the Seans and Daves and Petes we know, and I go, "You're the only Remi I know," which is badass.
Yeah.
So,
and it's different. But his actual full name is actually Ade Remi. So it's Remi Adeleke is my full name, but my mom's never called me Remi. Everybody's just always called me Remi. So
follow Remi. Buy the book on Amazon today. It's in every format: Audible,
Apple Books,
it's everywhere. And we're going to do this. This is happening. Me and Remi are going to do a book signing together in Oceanside, California, coming up real soon.
Do it. Yeah, let's do it.
This episode will probably drop before then, so we'll post that on our social media and. Do it, man. Thanks again, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
It's been great, man. It's been great. Yeah.
Hey, well, this episode is dedicated to a guy named Peter Schwab who passed away in the Grand Canyon during my girlfriend's trip down the canyon, and he died doing something fantastic. But we want to let his family know that this one goes out for them because anything is possible. You can defy the odds.
Amen.
What a great guy. Everybody loved him, and if you're going to go big.
Yeah, go doing what you love, man.